joint stock company. A company is an association of persons formed for carrying out business activities and has a legal status independent of its members. The company form of organization is governed by the Companies Act 1956. According to the Act, a company means a company formed and registered under this Act or an existing company. Characteristics of a joint stock company: artificial person, formation, separate legal entity, common seal, perpetual existence, limited liability of members, transferability of shares. Artificial person. A joint stock company is an artificial person in the sense that it is created by law and does not possess physical attributes of a natural person. It cannot eat or walk, smile or marry, read or write. However, it has a legal status like a natural person. Formation. The formation of a joint stock company is time-consuming and it involves preparation of several documents and compliance of several legal requirements before it starts its operation. A company comes into existence only when it is registered under the Indian Companies Act. Separate legal entity. Being an artificial person, a company exists independent of its members. It can make contracts, purchase and sell things, employ people, and conduct any lawful business in its own name. It can sue and can be sued in the court of law. A shareholder cannot be held responsible for the acts of the company. Common seal. Since a company has no physical existence, it must act through its board of directors. But all contracts entered by them shall have to be under the common seal of the company. This common seal is the official signature of the company. Any document with a common seal and duly signed by an officer of the company is binding on the company. Perpetual existence. The company enjoys continuous existence. Death, lunacy, insolvency, or retirement of the members does not affect the life of the company. It goes on forever. Since it is created by law, it can only be dissolved by law. Limited liability of members. The company form of business is able to attract large number of people to invest their money in shares because it offers them the facility of limited risk and liability. A shareholder can be held liable only to the extent of the face value of the shares he holds, and if he has already paid it, which is normally the case, he cannot be asked to pay any further amount. For example, if A holds one share of 100 rupees and has paid 75 rupees on that share, his liability would be limited only up to 25 rupees. Transferability of shares. The members of the company or public company are free to transfer the shares held by them to others as and when they like. They do not need the consent of other shareholders to transfer their shares. Merits of a joint stock company. Limited liability. The shareholders are liable to the extent of the unpaid amount on the shares. Only the assets of the company may be used to settle the debts. Transfer of interest. The share of a public limited company can be sold in the market and as such can be easily converted into cash in case the need arises. Perpetual existence. Existence of a company is not affected by the death, retirement, resignation, insolvency or insanity of its members, as it has a separate entity from its members. A company will continue to exist even if all the members die. It can be liquidated only as per the provisions of the Companies Act. Scope for expansion. As compared to the sole proprietorship and partnership forms of organizations, a company has large financial resources. Further, capital can be attracted from the public as well as through loans from banks and financial institutions. Thus, there is greater scope for expansion. The investors are inclined to invest in shares because of the limited liability, transferable ownership, and possibility of high returns in a company. Professional management. A company can afford to pay higher salaries to specialists and professionals. It can therefore employ people who are experts in their area of specializations. The scale of operations in a company leads to division of work. Each department deals with a particular activity and is headed by an expert. This leads to balanced decision-making as well as greater efficiency in the company's operations. Tax benefits. Although the companies are required to pay tax at a high rate, in effect their tax burden is low as they enjoy many tax exemptions under Income Tax Act. Demerits of a joint stock company. Complexity in formation. The formation of a company requires greater time, effort, and extensive knowledge of legal requirements and the procedures involved. As compared to sole proprietorship and partnership form of organizations, formation of a company is more complex. Lack of secrecy. The Companies Act requires each public company to provide from time to time a lot of information to the Office of the Registrar of Companies. Such information is available to the general public also. It is therefore difficult to maintain complete secrecy about the operations of the company. Control by a group. Most companies are managed by directors belonging to the same family. Shareholders holding majority of the shares take major decisions. Social abuses. A joint stock company has huge resources that might turn it into a monopoly. Delay in decision-making. A company has to fulfill certain procedural formalities before making certain decisions, as they require the approval of the board of directors or the general body of shareholders. Such formalities are time-consuming, and therefore, some important decisions may be delayed. Conflict of interests. A company has to manage the conflicting interests between employees, shareholders and consumers if it has to move ahead. Types of joint stock companies, private companies. Under the Companies Act 1956, by private company we mean a company which has the following features. It cannot have more than 50 members. Employees of the company are not included in members. It cannot invite the public to purchase its shares and debentures through open invitation. It restricts the rights of the members to sell or transfer their shares. It must have a minimum paid-up share capital of 1 lakh rupees. It is compulsory for these companies to write Private Limited after their names. The ownership of these companies is confined only to well-known selected persons. It requires minimum of 2 persons to start a private limited company. Usually, whenever partnership firms are in need of more money to expand their business, they convert themselves into private companies. It may be noted that private companies are exempted from various regulations of the Companies Act. In fact, they combine the advantages of both the company and the partnership form of business organization. Public companies. A public company must have the following features. It can invite the public to subscribe to its shares and debentures by open invitation. A minimum of 7 members is required to establish a public company. There is no limit on the maximum number of its members. There is no restriction on the transfer of shares. That is, the shareholders are free to sell their shares to the public. The public company must have a minimum paid-up capital of 5 lakh rupees. Different types of companies. A quick look at different types of companies. Government company. Any company in which at least 51% of the paid-up capital is held by the government is known as government company. Statutory company. A company created by a special act of Parliament or state legislature is termed as statutory company. Chartered company. A company created under a special charter granted by the King or Queen of England. Foreign company. A company which is incorporated in a country outside India and having business operation in India is known as a foreign company. Indian or domestic company. A company registered in India as per the Indian Companies Act is known as Indian or domestic company. Holding and subsidiary company. If a company controls another company, the controlling company is termed as holding company, and the company so controlled is called a subsidiary company. A company may become a subsidiary company of another in the following circumstances. Distinction between a private and a public company. To summarize, a joint stock company is suitable where the volume of business is large, the area of operation is widespread, the risk involved is high, and there is a need for huge financial resources and manpower. It is also preferred when there is need for professional management in its operations. In certain businesses like banking and insurance, joint stock company form is the most suitable. Nowadays, it is a preferred form for most areas of business because of the preference for operating on large scale. An interesting fact: